Okay.
Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 55, the one that returns because we didn't have a show last week, and now it's back. After all,
maybe we did, and you just didn't know.
Oh yeah,
happened.
There was a secret show. You gotta somehow decode the previous shows to learn the URL of the new show for the secret. Right?
Exactly. See,
it's not even on YouTube. It's on that other video service that's super popular.
Pornhub?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
You know, also being 55,
Look,
I was
trying too many times, and they just kick you right off of YouTube.
Pryor's Mr. Review.
Oh my! I was trying to present you with an interesting fact for 55 because I remember that thing that I was supposed to do it every episode, but it lasted all of one episode. I was supposed to give you an interesting number associated with that, but it turns out 55 is actually a pretty boring number, and there's not really much for it. Even the Wikipedia page for it is incredibly short, apart from it being the 10th Fibonacci number.
Maybe that is the interesting fact about 55 is that it's boring. Not very interesting.
Interestingly, number 55 is actually pretty uninteresting. Yes.
This is true. This is very true.
Oh, man. Well, there's a lot of news to talk about, so we should probably get to it. Before we jump into the Ubisoft stuff, we were going to... Watts, you wanted to talk about the Mortal... What was it called again?
Mortal Shell.
Mortal Shell.
Yeah.
I was like, Mortal Coil?
Mortal Coil. Sure. Well, yeah. So Mortal Shell, it's the final day of the demo. So you can play it right now. It's open demo through the Epic Game Store on PC. It is going to be out everywhere, though. It's going to be released absolutely everywhere. So don't panic. Don't hear
Nintendo
Epic
Switch.
And start yelling. Maybe not the Switch.
This is not absolutely everywhere.
Unacceptable. What about the Dreamcast for Briar?
The Wii U?
What about the Mister? Does it have a Mister release? No.
Yeah. Is there a Mister port?
So it was actually really interesting. So it was supposed to be you were only going to be able to play the demo if you had a code, but so many people were like, "Let me play the game," that they were like, "Okay, just play. It's open now."
Wow, they submitted to the demands.
I like when they do that.
Yeah,
nice. It's made so it's a Soulsborne type of game made by a really small studio. And the thing that really impressed me was how good looking it is. Like it's just a really good looking game, which kind of blew me away. But basically it's the things that you would expect from a Soulsborne game, you know, the bosses with the red bars and the enemies are difficult. So it feels very familiar, but they've done a lot of really cool stuff that makes it feel very unique and has a unique spin on the mechanics of a Soulsborne game. So instead of just having a normal block mechanic, they have something called Harden. So you basically turn your body into a shell and it can essentially block attacks, but you can also use it to empower your attacks. So you can use it both defensively and offensively. And there is a short cooldown between using it, so you can't just spam it because that would be broken. But you can use it pretty often. And the cool thing about it as well is you can be in the middle of a combo, so you can do a light attack, and then you can harden your shell and then go into the heavy attack. So, you know, generally heavy attacks tend to take a little bit longer. They're a little slower. It makes sure that you don't get hit while doing the attack. So it's really cool, interesting ways that you can do that. And another thing that's cool is I don't think I've played a Soulsborne game that doesn't have a refillable heal in the game, but the way that they do healing in this game is through parrying.
Oh, interesting.
Cool. Yeah, so you parry
I'm
then
out.
I'm signing out.
To be
never healing ever
fair,
again.
you can just find some mushrooms, a baguette. They do heal. They have items in
like
the world that heal you, but it heals you like over time.
Soulsborne style game and baguettes.
Yeah. But the only way to get like the big burst of healing is to parry and then do a follow-up attack after the parry to get your health back. So I thought that was really cool because it's a familiar feeling game, but it has some really interesting twists on it.
That's cool.
And it is an RPG. But the way that they do RPG elements, again, is a little bit different. So the character that you are kind of like this ash skeleton. It's probably the best way to explain what he looks like. And the way that you have different classes and different skill trees is you find bodies around the world that are dead, long gone, and you inhabit them. That's why it's called shell, because they're shells. you inhabit the shells. And in the demo, there was 2 different shells. One was kind of this tanky healing guy, who's all about kind of finding items and healing. But there was another guy who had a really big stamina bar, recovers stamina really quick, and he can actually use poison to heal himself. So you can make like a really cool poison build with that guy, or use that shell when you are in a poison area, and you can switch between them whenever the hell you want. Switch between them.
Just swap shells.
Yeah, you just switch shells. It's really cool.
Huh.
And
that's cool.
So that's how they're doing classes and customization. And when you first find a show, you don't really know anything about it, but then you take it to this woman who kind of looks after a morgue, so to speak, and she will tell you the name of the shell, so you get to know who this person was. And when you do that, you hear lore about them. There's like a little kind of cutscene that is fully voiced and tells you who they were. And as you level up the abilities from that person's shell, they also tell you more about the character. So it's a really cool way of getting to know this person who you have inhabited, while also that being a part of the RPG element.
Are you selecting a shell like at the beginning of the game? Or are you switching shells throughout the game?
So at the beginning of the demo, you come across a shell kind of just sitting on the floor, and you inhabit that as your first shell. But then later on, you find more shells that you can inhabit. So yeah, you can run around without a shell, because they've actually got a mechanic sort of like Sekiro as well, where if you get killed, you kind of have one opportunity where it just knocks you out of the shell and you're just a little ash dude running around. And you can get back into your shell to fully heal yourself and try again.
So
with that parry mechanic, can you use that against bosses? Like, can bosses be parried as well, so you can get health back during a boss fight?
Yeah, they have a way of telling you what can't be parried. There's like a little thing on your belt that glows red when there's an unblockable attack. So those ones you can either harden to stop it or have to get out of the way.
Fascinating. So you got Soulsborne combat, you got baguettes, and you got soul possession? Possessing the souls of your the shells? Learning about them? Yeah.
I came away from it really impressed, because visually, I like just the fact that how visually pleasing it is for such a small studio. I think is a really.
Do you know how big
awesome
the studio is?
I don't know how many people it is. I could probably find out. I know that it is small.
Yeah, I'm always curious about that with the, like you hear these AAA titles with massive amounts of people in there. And then every now and then there's like this small studio, or sometimes a solo studio. Like that one game that's coming out for the, or is being marketed with the Xbox, that is like a solo developer that's a first-person shooter. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately. But it looks really good as well.
Yeah. KJ in chat said around 15 people.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's I came away really impressed. I was like, wow, I really like the fighting system. I really like the healing system. I like the take on things that we are very familiar with and having it feel different and have its own identity in a genre that, has been perfected by FromSoft. Like, it's a perfect, the way they do it is perfect.
Yeah.
So it's the demo. You can play it. Anyone can play it right now. It's the last day if anyone wants to check it out. But the demo's pretty short.
Did you say when it's officially getting launched? It'll be out in the world?
Let me double check. I don't know if they gave an exact release date or just like a month. Let's see.
They're getting really close.
Date is 2021.
So it is next year.
Next year.
Dang, I better. You know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna download it right after the podcast and play it then.
You should check it out.
Yeah.
You have a Warlock raid-a-thon that you're not getting out of, Briar.
This is really important, though. This is going to go away.
Going away till 2021.
And I won't be able to get back to it until 2021.
It wasn't as a Warlock anyway.
That's a damn good point.
Damn. You know what, Eric? You bring up a solid point, man.
It's true. That's the thing.
I have to rearrange my whole day.
It's like you can do something fun, or you can play as a Warlock.
So I got that wrong. Apparently, it is Q3 of 2020. 2021 is the Steam release.
Oh, okay. So Epic bought early rights to it. Got it. All right.
Epic is the early rights. Yep.
For the record, I know some people really don't like that when Epic does that. But if Epic is injecting cash into their studio for early rights, especially for a small team, like a team of 15, I think that's just better for the industry, because they're able to put out product that is potentially better and makes the whole industry better, because they're able to put out cool stuff because they got that extra cash infusion just for the early.
It's exactly right. I mean, I've still always, I know there's other reasons people don't like the Epic launch, but I've just always been like, at least you only just need to open up another launcher. Like, you forget.
It's not like you gotta buy a new console.
These PC gamers, right? This whole time, exactly. They're not used to the struggle of being like, I can't get this game because it's on Xbox and I've only got a PlayStation. It's like, no, you just download another thing. Like, I've got Uplay, EA Play, or whatever it's called, or EA thing, Origin. I'm just like, just open another damn program. Stop complaining.
I think more competition is good too. It's like you don't want one company to just dominate the landscape over PC. Even though people like Steam, like, you don't want one company to have a monopoly.
No, you do not.
You really
don't. You don't want that in any situation.
And I understand that Epic still has a long ways to go to meet Steam's features, but that doesn't mean that it's going to always be that way. They could eventually get there, and them helping the industry, I think, is better in the long run.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that have been able to put out a beta or put out, something because of the financial backing they got from Epic. So I know there's probably a lot of games that might not ever have seen release date if they didn't go with Epic. So I mean,
that's a lot like Sony. It's like all those like single player story driven games that Sony puts out or that Sony finances for the PlayStation. Like, those games just don't get made in other places. Like, you don't see things like God of War. You don't see things like Last of Us Part 2 in other places because they're just not getting financed.
Yeah. Or, it's a lot harder. Like, look at Rockstar Games or something like that. It's high stakes to put that much money into a title like that.
Yeah.
So Mortal Shell. Check it out.
I would like to check it out for sure.
I'm really excited about it.
I'll watch you guys play it, maybe.
I love a good pairing system.
See, in theory, I love a good parry system because I picture myself being like, bam, bam, bam. When in reality, I'm just like, I timed it wrong again. I'm like, so this is why I'm a Monster Hunter player. I learn to roll when I'm in danger. And so the idea of, exactly, right? So the idea of having to be like, oh, you know what? I'm only going to heal if I parry. Whew. I mean, it's like the progression, right? Like I played Dark Souls.
Big ask.
That's the thing, right? I played Dark Souls and I'm like, okay, cool, I got a shield. Then when I played Sekiro, everyone was like, oh, you need to, like, parrying is quite important in this. And now there's like Mortal Shell, they're like, you want to heal? You better damn learn to parry. I'm like, come on, man.
Listen, the greatest boss to parry, Dark Souls 3, Champ Gunder. You parry every single move and kill him with parries. It is a phenomenal gaming experience. Trust me.
That's what I'm saying. Like the thing that I love about parrying is I feel so cool every time I parry something. Even if I've played for like 50 hours, I feel cool when I parry things.
Yeah.
So true. I'm always excited to parry.
All right. Parry approved. This podcast is parry approved.
Nope.
You know what else you can parry in? Valhalla.
Oh.
Hey, look, I've been working on my.
And how would you know?
I like
that,
it. It was
Aaron?
good. It was good.
Hey.
You played this, right? Did you play like 4 hours of this?
I did. Yeah. I can tell you. I think in that 4 hours I parried once. So I'm not.
Parry God. All you needed was once, and the whole game was like.
I know, right?
I'm sorry.
Like, get back. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. So I had a chance to play that and Watchdogs Legion. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is. I mean, I'm instantly sold. Like, there's definitely a little bit of kind of theme bias because I like Viking related stuff, right? So it's one of those kind of things where you jump into, because it feels very, very reminiscent of Origins, Odyssey, in that kind of thing. I'll be honest, it's been a while since I played Odyssey, so it wasn't kind of immediately fresh in my mind. And when I jump back into Valhalla, I don't know whether it's just because I haven't played Odyssey for a while, but I felt like Valhalla had more weight to the combat, which to me makes more sense because it's kind of like that aggressive Viking style combat. Like, it's much more like in your face and just like swinging axes, brute force, just aggression and stuff. So I kind of got that feel from it. But it's very reminiscent. Like it's definitely still within that same category of Origins and Odyssey. You know, it's obviously the much more RPG led. But I felt like I appreciate it a lot more because obviously I like the Viking stuff. I've recently been watching the Viking TV show, so a lot of the places that are referenced and stuff. Like I think when I was playing Origins or Odyssey, I'm like, my passing knowledge of ancient Greek or anything like that is just a bit like whatever. It's like you might have like a couple of things like, oh, I recognize that name, but when I'm playing like a Viking related thing, I'm like, oh, I know what went on in this castle and this battle, and I recognize that name. Like it's actually really, really cool.
And it's set in England.
It is, yeah. There we go. Look at that. So that's it was good though because so I had a chance to kind of go pretty much anywhere. So I did like some story missions, which obviously I didn't do too much of it because I always find it weird to play like a middle of a story in like a capture event. It's like, well, this means nothing to me. But then you got to explore the world, and there's like all the kind of open worldy stuff you expect to do. There's like legendary beasts out there, so the kind of beasts from like Tales that you would sort of. There's like the Black Shark is like a legendary sort of Black Panther that sort of supposedly roams the kind of English Highlands, or not English Highlands, like English countryside or whatever. You can fight that. There's also like Norse style shamans that you can fight. So although they did say before in an interview they were like, we want it to be kind of grounded in reality, there are some Norse shaman who can then just wield fire and lightning. So I'm like, you kind of a little bit creative licensing with that.
That lines up with what they've been doing, right? In Origins and Odyssey, it's like they were grounded until if you like looked in the cracks, or if you like looked a little further, you'd find like, oh, you get to fight the Minotaur in this, you get to fight Medusa, like or you got to fight the Egyptian gods.
Even the weapons though, like you'd get like some burning mace that was always on fire,
which is cool. Like I like that. I like you to be grounded in reality, and then just give me a little layer of cool shit on the top.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, that's the thing. Like that's why like I kind of sort of talking about like other games recently. I was like, I don't really play games for like the hyper realism. I'm just like, I just want to do fun stuff. Like I don't really care too tough. But I think one of the things that I really liked about it was that, and they obviously did a really good job of, is if you watch any kind of Viking related stuff, you know that obviously they do things as raiding parties, like teams. So I'm so used to, you play like Odyssey, you play Origins, and like you're the hero. And while you do play as Eivor in this and you're the center of the story, you, for a lot of your missions, you have your raiding party with you as you would in the Viking stuff. Like, so you rock up in your own boats, and then like there's loads of your guys, like, the mission that I played, like, we roll up in like the longboats, we put like explosives in the ship, and it just blows down this castle wall, and we all flock in together, and like you're fighting alongside you obviously still need to progress the thing. So like, you are obviously the main character, but the fact is that you are fighting with your team. And there's even like parts where you have those big castle sieges, which are cool, but then you've even got like little raids where you go out on your own, and you might come to like a village where there's like enemies, there's like all the like Saxons there and everything, and then instead of just taking them all out yourself, you actually blow your horn, and then your Viking party comes in, and then you start raiding the city together, which is just really cool. So
yeah,
I love a good raid, man. That's fun.
Yeah, exactly right.
I saw that.
Looting,
I saw that
pillaging. Let's do it.
Yeah, I saw that on the Ubisoft thing, and I was like, okay, this part looks really cool. That you can just get on your boat and you just go past an area, and you can just hop out and raid it, and you can get a cat to be on your ship to raid with you.
Ship buddy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In Viking land, not in the Egyptian game, but in this one, sure. I do whatever. Give me cats, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get.
Love it. Well, that was cool. And obviously, like combat wise, one of the big things for them is like the dual wielding system. So obviously, this time, you can mix and match your weapons. You've got the single handed stuff. You've got shields, you've got swords, you've got like maces and axes and stuff. But then they've got independent because they've got like independent buttons. So you can press. You have like your heavy and your light strike on your main like primary hand weapon. Then you've also got your second ones. You can actually physically control them independently. So then, I mean, when I say control them independently, I mean like you can kind of, if you've got like a mace and like an axe, like most of your combos will come out from your primary weapon. But then obviously if you want to like wind up a heavy axe swing or something like that, and then you can even go. I went down the skill tree to the point where you can spec to the point that you can get two-handed weapons dual wielded. So you get like a two-handed axe and a two-handed spear. It's really slow. You're just like, but it's a Viking thing. You're just like, let me just pick up these big weapons and go.
Yeah,
nice.
I was excited about maybe double shields just because you know someone's nuts if they run up on you with double shields. Who is this madman?
Or stupid.
That is true. That is very true.
I was running with my cat with my 2 shields. I'd be like, what is going on? I don't understand.
They showed some gameplay in one of the trailers of the double shields, and it actually looked kind of fun because they're just like bashing. You're bashing with like the flat part, and then like kind of swiping with the sharp part of the shield or the thin part of the shield. It actually looked pretty fun.
The game looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Did it have that feel when you were playing it? Like, man, this is a good looking game.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, definitely. Like, it's one of those sort of things where, like, as you're exploring the world, like, you know, you especially when like they always pick the times really well. Like, you're kind of riding your horse down like the countryside, and there's like the sun setting and everything. But yeah, I mean, it looked really nice. Like, it's always kind of got that. Like, Ubisoft are great at kind of crafting those kind of worlds. I mean, obviously the game definitely had the typical kind of jank that you get with some of the sort of like Assassin's Creed games where like some things are just a bit weird and not like, you know, like whatnot. But then there's also like an early development build anyway. But overall, like, the game just looked fantastic. It's like, you know, whether you're riding down your horse, like raiding with your party, or just like on the boat, like all of it was just like, yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
I think
I dig what they've been. I dig what they've been stepping in with the Assassin's Creed series, since like Origins and Odyssey have both been really fun games. And so I'm hoping that I get a lot of enjoyment out of this. I am a little worried of getting a fatigue from that like type of Assassin's Creed game now, because I did play Origins all the way through. I did play Odyssey all the way through, and the Odyssey was long. I can't remember how many hours I put into Odyssey, but to get through that story, to see it to completion, you have to put a ton of hours into it.
Odyssey was long.
Yeah.
Well, for this one, in order to complete it, you're going to have to play it in 2 days because it comes out 2 days before Cyberpunk. Hey!
Good luck, nerds. We're screwed.
Wow.
2 days.
Yeah, that is so disappointing. I mean, no way this game is going to be like a 20-hour campaign, especially if you play for the mechanics. Like, it's going to be. In fact, they said they're trying to make another Witcher 3. Not that they made Witcher 3, but they're trying to like embody the experience of a Witcher 3 level of detail in this. And that if they come remotely close, then this game is going to be a jumbo.
Yeah, that's hard to do because I feel like a lot they get the mechanics of the Witcher 3, but they don't get like the storytelling. Like the storytelling to me is what made Witcher 3 so special. You know, there was a lot of jank in the Witcher 3. There was a lot of weird stuff, and like, you know, the combat wasn't particularly special in The Witcher 3. But what made that game so memorable was the stories, and even like a side quest would stick. I'd be thinking about like the characters of a side quest for days after playing a side quest because they were that impactful. Like the writing and, you know, the acting and all that stuff. And that's what I think is much harder to get than, you know, well, mechanically, it's just like The Witcher 3. Yeah, but that doesn't matter.
So with Odyssey, I actually felt like they were starting to scratch up on some of that because some of the side quests in Odyssey were really good, and you definitely did not have to do them. And there was a lot of variance in terms of quality from some of the stories and some of the voice acting, but some of them hit really strong and was like, damn, that was a good side quest that I could have totally missed, and I got a badass bow or whatever from it that I wouldn't have had if I just beelined the gold line on that. Or just straight
the Medusa one I thought stuck with me pretty well. With the two lovers, and one of them gets trapped by Medusa.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about it too much more than that, but I like that one a lot.
Yeah, and there was a lot of content. I definitely didn't do all the side quests.
It really was.
It would have been like 120 hours.
I didn't get all the assassinations done in that. It's like there was like something like 50 different guys you had to assassinate before you could get to the main like assassination, and I never got there because it was just. But each one of those had a story.
Yeah,
you know. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Some of them you just run upon and be like, "Oh shit, this is gotta kill." Some of them were like, a 5-hour quest. You know. For
me, I was always trying to Spartan kick them off the ledge, and it was glorious.
That takes extra time because you got to lead them all the way up there.
Yeah, and it was the payoff. Fantastic
payoff. I wonder is there a Spartan kick in Valhalla?
There is
a Viking kick. Yeah,
there's like a Viking knee to your face.
Okay, that works.
Send people flying.
I believe so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, I'm in.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
If you can, tiger knee to the face and they go flying off a ledge, then like, okay, this is great.
I'm pretty sure. Like, yeah, I think that's how it worked. Yeah.
Nice.
There's a Viking curb stomp, Darth Ordana says in chat.
Okay.
I'm into that.
One of the really cool ones. There's a really cool move where, like, because obviously you have all the kind of special moves like you had in like Odyssey and Origins and whatnot. One of them is like a cool finisher where like you'll go up to someone, you'll finish it with an axe, and you spin around to the next nearest enemy and you throw your axe at them, and it just kills.
Yeah,
kills
that's
both.
cool.
It just looks so cool. Yeah,
that is cool.
And you have like the crazy like you jump up in the air, slam both your weapons down on the ground. So it's like, ooh, there's a lot of like angry moves, like ready to go kind of thing. So yeah, I like it.
Yes, little possible internet interference there for the
Robo
live show.
Viking. Robo Viking in future.
The Templars are trying to shut us down.
Erase us from history. Yeah, I'm excited about Valhalla. That is super disappointing that if it's 2 days before Cyberpunk. However,
hey, you know what? Maybe Cyberpunk will
I'm gonna be looking for something to play in like February.
Listen, there's a high chance that Cyberpunk is actually going to get another delay. Given its track record, it's likely to get pushed into 2021, right?
Let us pray and hope. Give it to me in March. What am I doing in March?
Maybe Ubisoft is betting on it. They're like, right. What are the chances Cyberpunk actually releases?
And then people are going to be like, oh, I was so excited for Cyberpunk, but at least I have Valhalla. I'll just play that game.
100 hours of Valhalla.
They've realized that the new NVIDIA graphics cards aren't coming out this summer. So they're like, oh, well, the computers can't actually run this game yet. So we have to wait for that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Far Cry 6 was the other like real big one, right?
Yeah, which I think lots of people are very excited about that because of who is in it. Because it's starring a Breaking Bad star that you may know of being a certain chicken connoisseur.
Chicken aficionado?
The Chicken Man.
Chicken aficionado.
Gus.
Yes, Gus.
He's amazing.
He is amazing. And looking at the cutscenes in this game, I was like, is that just real? Is that just real?
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. So we finally get that. It was leaked a little bit before the official announcement, but they kind of ran with it, which was cool. They just immediately announced that Gustavo was going to be in it, and it's just like, here's him. He's here. He's doing the thing.
Yeah.
And the trailer was really interesting. So you've got Diego, who is his son in the game, and he hands him this grenade and pulls the pin, and he's like, "Don't panic. The grenade only goes off when you let it go." So you've got this little kid holding this grenade, and he takes him to look at the protesters who are protesting against, I assume, an awful regime who his father is responsible for, and essentially leads up to him having to drop the grenade on the crowd. And that was like, here, Far Cry 6, everybody. Here's Far Cry 6. Great.
Still fucked up. Don't worry. This is still fucked up.
Oh, man.
There are some suspicions out there in the interwebs that Diego, because if you look at Diego's eyebrow, he has the same eyebrow as Voss from Far Cry 3.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing else linking them, but people are saying that, maybe this is his origin story. Maybe that's why he's so damn nuts and he left and he's crazy because he didn't want to follow in his father's footsteps or, well, as in as in leading a country.
Yeah. Instead of being a political leader, he'd just be
he was crazy man.
Yeah.
crazy nutso guy.
So a lot of people are feeling, they've talked about this, feeling like Far Cry fatigue, and it's the same stuff over and over, and there's definitely strong arguments for that type of stuff, but I still enjoy a Far Cry, even though I'm going to go and unlock the tower, I'm going to kill a camp for how I want, and then unlock the tower, and then progress the story. I still enjoy it's like a summer popcorn flick of gaming, that doesn't come out during the summer.
I always buy Far Cry. I always play it for like 5 to 10 hours. I've never finished the Far Cry. Like I've never played through all the way through the story, but I always have fun just like causing chaos, like lighting a thing on fire and then sending it into like a camp and having it explode or, whatever it is. It's kind of like, oh geez, I can't remember the other games that were like
Just
this,
Cause?
but Yeah, Just Cause. It's like the fun for me was never so much as the story as it was for the chaos that the engine allows for, and just like coming up with stupid shit to do. You know, like getting on a quad and like try and run over a bear. You know, like you know, just stuff like that. Like I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try it anyway.
Yeah, I've kind of fallen out of love with Far Cry recently, but seeing the actors that they have in this game and seeing the beginning of the story, like just the trailer showing me that kind of story is really intrigues me, because if Far Cry has an awesome villain and has a really good story, then it is an incredibly enjoyable game, even if you're doing repetitive stuff. So I'm hopeful, because man, they got some real good people in the game.
Yeah, I feel like that might be enough to kind of pull me through, like to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, because I've played all the Far Cry, but much like you said, I never kind of finished them. I kind of just like got through to a certain point. I was like, I've had my fun kind of thing. But I feel like if there's a good story with him, then I'm involved.
Yeah.
Same.
I've completed most of them. I didn't complete Primal, but like running around with peaches and cheeseburger in Far Cry 5, that was just great. I was like, well, I guess I better do this mission. But man, peaches and cheeseburger rolling, killing stuff. That was the bear and the cougar, by the way. It was great.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I'll check it out. It looks interesting. Looks like the story could be good.
Yeah. Next it would be Watchdogs 2, right?
Legion.
Legion.
We had
my bad.
Watchdogs 2. This is 3.
Oh, my bad. This is 3.
Watchdogs thrice.
We can talk about Watchdogs 2 if you want.
This one's set in London, in my hometown. It's great.
Maybe that kind of sums up my feeling about the franchise, how it all blends into each other and doesn't really have like an identity to me, other than being like,
this is the one worth paying attention to. I think. I mean, I haven't played it enough to know whether it's actually worth paying attention to. But I would think, it just feels like, because Watch Dogs 1, I remember when it first came out, I played it. It wasn't the greatest game, and a lot of people will obviously sort of say the same thing about the Watch Dogs 1. I feel like it also kind of suffered from the fact that it was probably one of the first games that had the big downgrade push where everyone's like, look at what Watch Dogs was supposed to look like and what it actually is. But really, the underlying gameplay was kind of fun. Like the hacking stuff was cool. They did a lot of stuff with Watch Dogs 2 to improve that. Admittedly, I didn't actually finish Watch Dogs 2, but they did a lot of stuff like system-wise to kind of improve that. And like Legion basically is just kind of like from the little bit that I've played, feels like it could potentially be just like the greatest hits of like Watch Dogs, because you've got all the kind of hacking components in it. You've got the nice open world, but they've got this really cool mechanic where obviously you can play as basically anyone in the game, which when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, it sounds interesting, but like, is it actually going to work? But in practice, it's really cool because obviously it makes sense of the whole setting. DedSec is obviously this big hacker group who are obviously trying to rise up, and they're trying to sort of get people to fight for their cause. So it makes sense that, you just kind of recruit people off the street and whatnot. But the idea being that as you're exploring the world, you can find someone and be like, oh, this person works as a policeman. This person is a drone specialist. This person is a construction worker. And then whenever you go and profile people with your phone, you can see they've got access to special skills. So it'd be like, all right, if I have a police officer in my team, I can freely just walk into a police station. No one's going to bat an eyelid. If I have for example, if you have a barrister on your team and then one of your team gets arrested, passively, you can be out of prison quicker. So there's a lot of fun team building things you can do in there, and everyone's got different abilities and stuff, which is really cool. But I think for me, just a cool thing is the fact that it's in London, because I'm just so used to playing games where they're set in the US of A, and I'm just like, I'm driving on the wrong side of the road. I don't know the way around. Now I'm like, hey, for once, I'm notoriously bad with directions in video games and also real life. I'm just not very good at working my way around places. But at least when I was in London, I was like, I know this street. I know where this goes. So maybe I'll be a little bit less lost in this game. Maybe.
It's funny. Speaking of driving on the wrong side of the street, I went to London and Ireland years ago, and I was driving a rental car. When I remember driving there, I remember driving on the U.S. side of the street. Like I cannot remember being on the other side of the car and driving on the other side of the road. Isn't that weird?
Weird.
That's weird.
So
maybe you were driving the wrong side of the road.
I definitely did that on occasion. Whoa, shit.
My Japanese teacher said that every now and then she does go over to the wrong side of the road, and she doesn't realize until someone's coming at her. And I was like, that's very dangerous. Please stop it. Stop driving.
Japan also drive on the right side of the road. This is true. This is true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Need autonomous cars, guys.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, no. But overall, I mean, like for this one, obviously, it was like kind of slightly harder because it's got like that sandbox nature. So again, I kind of got to experience some missions. I got to explore the world. Just the world itself is kind of cool. But I think just the nice thing about this one is the way that nobody's playthrough is going to be the same, because it's not like you're going to say, like, apart from the very beginning of the game where you play as like one, but there are still a few core characters throughout the narrative. Obviously, the kind of core people at the center of DedSec, but at least for when you're playing and you're building your team, everyone's going to be different. And I think some of it's randomly generated, because sometimes you get some funny accent mismatches. So like, I had this guy who looked really, really aggressive, who was like this punk dude, but then he also just had like a really, really quiet voice that just doesn't really fit him.
Maybe that's part of the magic.
Yeah,
you find someone and you're like, I'm keeping this guy. This is hilarious.
Yeah,
this is true. So yeah, there's gonna be some. Because I think I remember when I first played the early demo, the previous E3, and they were like ironing out some bugs, and I think we played as like a woman who had like an Irish man's voice or something. They're like, that's not supposed to happen. But yeah, no, but it was cool. Honestly, yeah. I mean, I feel like this one, it's interesting because like when you play something like Valhalla for a short period of time and like Watchdogs for a short period of time, like the instant gratification from something like Valhalla is more instantaneous, because obviously you're just like, all right, I'm just raiding villages and just like throwing axes and being a badass. Whereas obviously like Watchdogs is slightly more like build up your team, think about things strategically. The hacking stuff is all really cool though. Like, but again, there's a lot of that stuff if you're familiar with it in previous games, and you'll kind of like you'll know it anyway. But there's cool things, because obviously because it's like you live further in the future, there's like drones flying around and stuff, and you can hack the drones. There's even like construction drones that you can hack and fly down and climb on top of them and fly around on them and stuff. So there's a lot of just like sandboxy stuff you can do.
Cool.
That is the thing that I liked about Watchdogs when I did play it. Yeah, that stuff is fun. Do you think it's going to have a strong narrative that's going to make you want to finish the game?
It's hard to say from the very beginning. I mean, I like the Watchdogs narrative from what I played previously, but it's the kind of sort of thing that we've sort of seen in those like spy kind of things before, right? It's like, there's some big government organization who's then got like a military hand who are then obviously taking over, and then this is just the kind of cool like underground hacker group that are just trying to rise up and stuff. Very kind of like Mr. Robot, or that kind of stuff, right? So, Mr. Robo. But yeah, I think I was interested from like the short bit that I played. But obviously,
sure.
when you jump into like an event, you play like 2 missions, and in the middle of a random campaign, and you have 0 investment, you're just a bit like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I mean, this one comes out in October, so I've at least got a bit more time potentially to play it. That is assuming that we still don't know about any of the next gen release games yet, so we still don't know what the end of the year looks like.
True. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, so, I'm like mildly curious about this one. I'm definitely more curious about Valhalla. Like Valhalla for me is the big takeaway. Giancarlo being in Far Cry 6 is like awesome. Definitely excited to see where they go with that. Watchdogs has been kind of one of those things where it's like the sandbox has always been fun. Hacking stuff is fun, but I've never been hooked into it to where like I need to finish the game. I think that's always a tough thing too when they have like a big like a dark corporation type of thing that's like the bad guy. It's tough to have a connection with that. To be like, I need to take this corporation down, It's like
with open world games, narrative can be hard too, because you're often doing like side quests and stuff, and you lose the thread of the main narrative for hours at a time.
Yeah.
While you're off like, doing whatever in the open world.
Yeah. So 29th for that.
Yeah. So potentially a little bit more time.
Potentially. Do we know when Godfall gets launched yet? Did they announce that?
No, still not a date yet. No, it's still supposed to be holiday 2020. So, I mean, I kind of hope it's a launch thing. But why? But then if it is a launch thing, and the rumor is that the consoles are coming somewhere around October, November, then yikes. That's what I'm saying. Like, yikes. I mean, because that's the thing. Like, we have to factor in. We know all these games that are coming for current and next gen. Like, we know, for example, Watchdogs is going to be a cross-delivery game. We know that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be cross-delivery. We know that they're obviously strategically pushing them back so that they can probably coincide with the launches. But then we also know that anytime they announce a new console, sure, not necessarily all launch games are good, but there's always like a handful of games that you want to play because they're on the new console. So like, I remember the podcast last year when we were like, how are we going to handle September?
Oh man, we had it easy last September.
September was like a training day.
It was easy.
This fall is not only going to have like way too many games to play, but it's also going to cost you a butt ton of money.
Yeah.
I just got an email. I was so upset about this email. I don't know if I told you guys about in March that I ordered the NT Mini, which is a $500 NES. Basically, it does HDMI out and it does a bunch of other things, but it's an NES, right? A Nintendo Entertainment System. It was supposed to come out this month. I pre-ordered it in March. I just got an email that's coming out in November. I'm like, well, I'm never playing that.
No.
God damn it. November.
You can play it while all the updates are installing on your PS5.
Yeah, right?
If only everything wouldn't keep getting delayed. Everything has gotten delayed to the point where it's all coming out at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to cash in for the end of the year. Gotta get
I bet Ubisoft were fuming when CD Projekt Red were like, actually, we're going to move to November. They were like, damn it.
We thought you were... damn you. Stop moving. Yeah.
I can't wait for that game. I am still concerned about it though. Like Cyberpunk. Hopefully it's as good as we hope it's going to be. But at this point, we've put so much hype on that game that it's like
destined.
I don't know if there's ever been a game that's been hyped like this ever. Maybe Halo 3. I don't know. Is there any other?
It is a lot of pressure.
It sure is, man.
Yeah, it's almost like Destiny 2, having to be able to follow up and make a better, more expansive version of Destiny, and then not hitting the marks and having to feel that. It's like this is the follow up to Witcher 3, essentially.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's gotta hit those marks where it's like, wow, I can't believe they crafted this experience. And if it doesn't, then people are gonna be like, it's gonna have that mark. I don't know. It's a tough follow-up. It's like Red Dead 2. Some people were like, man, this is boring.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, but I know some people were like, this is not
all
the Red
these
Dead.
games will come out, we'll jump into them and be like, not that interested. And then it won't be stressful at all.
I think I'm just going to be playing these games. I'm just going to be playing them all next year. Like 2021 is going to be the year that I play the 2020 games.
Yeah.
2020 is the year that I'm playing the games from 1985. So it makes sense.
This is true.
I bet 2020 is all Briar's fault. He's sitting there with his time machines, fiddling with the time matrices. This is all Briar's doing.
Hey, strange tangent. One time on DCP, Briar had brought up a question about Quado from Total Recall.
Oh, yeah.
Like, would you... maybe it was Hugo's question, asking about, like...
That adds up.
Would you have...
Sounds like a Hugo question.
Yeah, would you rather have this, or would you rather have a Quado in your stomach? And I was like, Quado? What the hell is that? Well, Memes and I just recently watched Total Recall again because it was on Netflix.
Oh, because it's on Netflix.
Yeah. And I saw Quado, and I was like, oh, Quado, okay.
Now he gets it.
The DCP question from like a year ago makes sense.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So what would be the answer to the question?
No, I definitely don't want Quado in my stomach. Definitely not. It's god awful.
Yeah, like he could tell the future, right? Quado.
He was like an oracle.
The deal with Quado? Yeah, he was an oracle.
Yeah, stuck in a guy's stomach.
Also, the lady with 3 boobs. I remember that vividly from when I was like 7 years old watching that movie.
100%. That was the takeaway from Total Recall. Oh, 3 boobs.
3 boobs. You pull the probe pulling scene out of the nose. That one sticks with you. And Quado.
You know what's amazing also?
And when they go out in the atmosphere of Mars and they're like... Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So what's amazing is that scene where he pulled the probe out of the nose. As a kid, I vividly remembering it looking very real. I was like, man, it looks...
No, yeah.
And seeing it again, I was like, oh, of course they just made like Arnold's face and then yanked the probe out of it.
It's like a rubber face.
Yeah, it's like a rubber face. Amazing.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that movie. I saw it was on Netflix. I almost watched it. I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch it again. Didn't they make a a remake of Total Recall at some point?
Yeah,
Did they remaster it?
I feel like there was a redo that maybe happened or didn't happen. I don't know. I can't remember.
I know they redid RoboCop and it was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell was in it. No kidding.
Oh.
It was bad. All right. Well, you saved me time on that one.
Oh man. So sorry for the side tangent. Back to the Ubisoft Forward. Was there anything else? Was those the 3 takeaways, or is there more?
Was there a Quado in
Ubisoft? Was there a Quado in Ubisoft?
No Quado.
Nothing else.
I think that was it, right? And that was the takeaway. Was I think they talked about Hyperscape a bit after that, which is their BR.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Hyperscape.
That looked super generic.
It's so the thing with Hyperscape. So I played a bit of the beta. I think it's in like open. I don't know what it is. What's a beta? What's an alpha? I don't freaking know anymore.
Right.
But I played it a little bit, and the guns feel really good. Surprisingly, like the guns actually feel very good. But my issue with it was there's definitely some severe balancing problems, in my opinion. But then also every building, everything looks exactly the same. And there's no like, there's no areas where it's like you find a gold weapon or you find, better loot in this area. It's just everything is exactly the same. It looks the same. It is the same. And I just get kind of bored looking at the same stuff all the time.
Yeah. Overwatch did a really good job of the environments. Like it had visual interest and difference when you progress through maps. So that is very important for map design. I'm watching some gameplay right now. I see what you're talking about. There's a lot of sameness going on.
How big is
you
the
get
map?
to play in a giant metal hamster ball? I mean, what BR lets you go into a ball and just bounce around?
It's true. Yeah, like honestly, some of the abilities and the guns feel really good. I just wish it was a little bit more interesting to look at.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, that said, since it's a BR, a lot of BRs do kind of look the same across the entire map. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Because it is like a supposedly big map. Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever play Hyperscape personally, but I'm not really a BR player.
Yeah. No, I like Apex, but I think, it's because there's the shooting mechanics and everything from Respawn are just so damn good. And I think their map design is actually pretty good. But every other BR, I'm kind of like, I can't get into it.
The thing with BRs to me is that you kind of have to invest in one, like to really get enjoyment out of it. Like you have to really like play it a bunch. You have to learn because these maps are huge and some of them have multiple maps. You really got to learn the maps. You got to learn where you want to drop. You got to learn where the best, the highest likelihood of good loot is. You got to learn like how the circle mechanic is going to work and how best to judge all that stuff. It's almost like a fighting game where you can pick up and play a fighting game and get some enjoyment out of it, but to actually to really deep dive into it, it just takes a lot of hours to learn. Right. Yeah. I feel like that's what the BR, and it makes it hard to jump between BRs because it entices me to like pick a BR and then just kind of stick to it. I think that's why it's so hard to pull people out of, the ones that are really popular.
Yeah. And also the ones that are popular are doing a really good job of it. Like Apex is really good.
Yeah.
It's a good game. Yeah, their map design's cool. The skins that they're making now are really good. The gameplay feels really good. So I think it's hard to pull me away from that because it's the one thing that I've kind of really jammed with, whereas others I kind of put them down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got on with PlayerUnknown's for a while. I was playing that for a solid year and just loving it. But there are big names in that space too. It's like hard to just get seen in that space.
Yeah.
You got Fortnite. That's the biggest game in games right now.
Yeah.
The public PlayerUnknown's is not a small name. Apex is not a small name. It's hard to just get seen in that space.
Well, yeah, and then Call of Duty Warzone is pretty popular as well.
They announced the release date for the Ultimate Battle Royale game. It's coming out on August the 4th.
Is it Naked Ladies?
No.
Or something? Oh, okay.
It is called Fall Guys. Have you seen the trailer?
Oh, I saw
I have
that.
seen that.
I have
Yeah,
seen
as
it.
soon as I saw that, I said we have to play that.
Yes.
Because this is gonna be hilarious.
It was like Takeshi's Castle, the video game. You get to dress up in silly costumes.
I love silly costumes.
Yeah.
That was at the Devolver conference, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh my god, it looks so fun. It's a BR game, kinda, right? But it's like more like a platformer where everybody just gets dumped into this like 3D Mario style platformer with bright graphics and cutesy graphics, you know, like that kind of thing. And then there's all these obstacles that you have to get past, and it's like the first 40 people to get to the finish line win. Yeah. It just looks just like joyful fun, you know, like a Mario game.
Yeah.
It's just joyful. Yeah, it looks awesome. I can't wait for that. It looks like it'll be
a really good stream game too, right? Because you could just get like all your buddies into this giant lobby and just dick around together.
Ridiculous costumes and all those things like that. Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
That was the first I'd heard of that game was when I was watching that conference, and I immediately started Googling everything I could find out about it because it just it just looks like Distilled Joy. It just looks like fun.
Distilled Joy. Concentrated joy.
How
was that conference, actually? I actually didn't get a chance to watch the Devolver conference.
It was pretty fun. I didn't think there were a lot of great games announced there. There's some cool stuff. Nothing that really grabbed me, though, except for Fall Guys.
Yeah.
They always do that kind of like narrative stuff in between, like the little skits. And those are fun. This year it was a little weird. It's always a little weird. But this
was
year,
a little weird.
I don't know.
There's always like
Carrion
a
look cool. Carrion is a game where you play as the it's a 2D game where you play as like the beast, and you're kind of this like gelatinous, like gooey thing that you're kind of moving through levels as, and then you have these like almost like tentacles where you can grab guys and kind of temporarily possess them, and then use them to shoot their buddies, like the guards of this like whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks like it'll be fun to play with. Carrion looked cool.
Cool.
And they did show Shadow Warrior 3. I'm not a big Shadow Warrior fan. I don't know why. It seems like it should hit like every one of my pleasure spots, but for some reason it just doesn't.
You're not a fan of
I don't
dick
know.
jokes?
I don't understand why. Yeah, I played it and I was like, this is all right, but it's just not.
You can't handle the wang?
It wasn't grabbing me.
You don't mess with Lo Wang.
Unbelievable, Briar.
Briar's review. Too many wings. Can't get on.
Maybe that's it.
Briar in 2020 has really changed. First off, Doom Eternal, he was like, meh. Doom Eternal, and now Shadow Warrior 3 is like, I don't know.
Briar just wants to play his old classic games. I assume 1 week we're gonna hear from Briar that he's been playing a real like feelsy type of game. He's like, guys, I sat there over the weekend. I was crying. I was writing letters to people. It was good cry.
That was Last of Us 2.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, what was it? What's her name? Sekiro.
You talking about Hellblade?
What?
No.
Hellblade. Yeah, Hellblade.
What's her name?
It's crazy that you said Sekiro, and I was like, you're actually talking about Hellblade.
Hellblade.
It was because of the what's her name?
What is going on?
And then we were like, yep, Hellblade.
Oh yeah, because Senua, her Senua Sekiro, you said her.
Senua.
I was like Hellblade, and you're talking about crying.
That game is amazing. Can't wait for number 2. Very excited.
Yeah. Wait, is there a date on that yet?
I don't know actually.
No, Senua.
Hellblade
2. Sekiro 2. What?
Wow.
Hellblade 2, Senua's Sekiro Sacrifice.
Yeah, that game was so good. One of my favorite games.
Yeah. Also a small team. I think it was like I don't want to quote the wrong number. But it was a small team, yeah.
I think they're bigger now because of how successful they were with the first game.
True, yeah.
I mean, they showed that at the Xbox conference, right? And it just looked astounding, like graphically.
The number 2?
The sequel.
Yeah, the sequel?
Yeah.
Yep.
When is the next Xbox conference? That's got to be coming up soon, right?
July 23rd?
There you go.
Is that what it was?
Super soon.
23rd, 22nd, I think. I think 22nd. Maybe.
God, it's already the 13th.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what happens in 5 days?
It's just this period. It still feels like mentally, I feel like it's still March. Because I haven't left the house since March, I guess.
It is still March. We've had 5 months, 4 months of March. In 5 days, Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I know that Eric's has been playing it.
I'm saying nothing.
He's embargoed. His lips have been embargoed.
All we know is he has a review coming out tomorrow.
Review tomorrow. Please watch.
Is there a chance that you stab somebody in Ghost of Tsushima? Can't even say you stab someone.
I can't blink.
This is still the NDA. This is
Keep your eyes continuously covered if the game has blades.
Wait, how do I deal with this?
Yeah, I can't. I'm so excited. Friday. Oh man.
Yeah, Friday's a big day, right? All weekend, I think, is going to be Ghosts weekend.
That's my plan.
Friday is Paper Mario and the Origami King. What do you mean?
Right.
Exactly.
I've never played a Paper Mario game. Maybe this will be the first one.
This could be the one.
Yeah.
On a scale of
cover my eyes and then revealing them. I've now seen my light, and it's just made my eyes go all funny now.
on a scale of Force Awakens to Jar Jar Binks, how awesome is Paper Mario?
Wait, which is the high side of that scale, according to Eric?
Jar Jar Binks, definitely Jar Jar Binks. Top quality entertainment.
Is it 3 Jar Jars or 4 Jar Jars approved?
And don't forget, in Paper Mario, there is the paper Shinobi Dojo. So don't worry about Ghost of Tsushima. You can get your Samurai Shinobi fixed in Paper Mario. You even got little paper stars.
You can be a paper star.
What you're saying is there's samurais in Ghost of Tsushima. Mm-hmm.
I'm not. No. I'm saying Paper Mario has
Somebody
Shinobi.
call Sony. There's an NDA.
The NDA police.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing all day Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's gonna be some long days.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
I mean, I'm not gonna rush through it though, because I think this is the last big release for a while, isn't it?
It's the last IP for PS4. That's it. PS4's done. Once you finish it, your PS4 blows up.
PS4 is basically retro.
It expires.
Yeah, basically retro. Yeah. That's it.
Gotta throw it out. It's got mold.
With your TurboGrafx 16, move on.
It won't exist anymore. It'll be like the Mission Impossible movies, where it's like, once you complete this game, your console will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
It'll consume itself.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then all that's left is a little discount code for our PS5. Get 99p off your PS5.
You know,
I gotta tell you though, it's probably a great time to start looking for used PS5 games. If you're looking for some deals, once that PS4
games,
it's probably a great time to buy PS4 games.
I will look for those. Maybe I can find some secrets.
If you could buy a used PS5 game right now, I'd be very questionable about that source. Right.
Oh, I'm sure it's legit. You should definitely pick it up. Also, check out my Etsy store.
The guy on eBay, he's a very trustworthy guy.
Yeah, super reputable.
He's got an 89% approval rating.
I pre-ordered the PS6 from him already. I thought I'd just why not?
Well, I'm just gonna skip this whole PS5 generation.
Oh my gosh.
He promised me it had 25 teraflops.
Do you guys think there's going to be a surprise game in August that gets released? Last year,
no. Please no. I need a surprise holiday.
That's it. Maybe August is the perfect holiday month, right?
True.
Well, it was until you said that, and then now it's not, because now something's going to happen.
Guaranteed,
now
right?
You jinxed it. Now companies are going to be like, hey, we're going to have a beta, and then we're going to have an alpha backwards, and then we're going to have a gamma, and then your game is out.
Yeah.
Basically.
What we didn't talk about, which we might not have enough time to talk about now, but maybe new Monster Hunter World Dragon.
There's some controversy around.
Controversy? Really?
There's a petition online to nerf the dragon.
Whoa! Monster Hunter World players need to get good?
Wow. They do.
So there's a thing with the dragon that people are upset about. So they're not really upset about that it's difficult necessarily, but the way that this dragon works is that you have to hit a certain amount of elemental damage. Otherwise, he does a one-hit kill move that kills you. Absolutely nothing you can do to get away from it. So for all the people who were using raw damage, blast, poison, you're screwed. Sorry. Find a new build. So I think that's why people were upset, because it's, it's like, oh, I have to play this very specific way. I can't just go in with anything. I have to play elemental, and you have to hit that threshold or you are dead.
This is like super endgame stuff, right?
Yeah,
it is. It's a definite new thing for Monster Hunter. I mean, like there've been a couple of additions that have been, like Call of Taroth had like hidden DPS checks where like if you weren't doing enough damage, you would just kind of fail because you would just like run away. But like that was just like standard DPS check. And like to a degree, like Behemoth obviously introduced like the move that will wipe you, but then obviously you could hide behind the rock. This is the first time where someone's like is actively forced people to a very particular playstyle where it's like raw damage. No way in hell can you do it. Doesn't matter how much damage you're kicking out. Like status, no way in hell. Like you have to play element. And that's the thing. Like people are is like the way it was created was like, I mean, the whole fight in itself is fantastic. It's like it's a great reincarnation of Alatreon, because obviously that was in previous games before. So to see it in World, they've done a great job with it. But it's definitely like Monster Hunter has never really been a game that's had those like MMO style wipe mechanics until World. Obviously when the first one was Behemoth with the whole meteor. Then obviously later on there were like some other things like that. So it's definitely a new thing for the genre. And I mean, I'll be honest, like in the grand scheme of things, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of it, because I feel like that kind of stuff is just artificial difficulty. Like I've always just thought it was just a bit like, I'd rather fail just because I haven't learned the monster's moves, or like it's quite fast, or like there's a series of chain of attacks where if you mess it up, that's fair enough. But when it's just like because Monster Hunter historically has always had a 50-minute quest timer, right? So it's like even if you don't have the best build, sure, it might take you 40 minutes to defeat a monster, but you can still get through it. Whereas obviously by putting these in place, it's like, no, if you're not up to scratch like quickly, don't even try, kind of thing. So I mean, I've done it, but it's definitely, I can understand why people are frustrated. It is one of those ones though, people are obviously like starting to kind of change their sentiment slightly, because there's always a knee-jerk reaction where like you hit the wall to begin with, and people are like, I don't know what to do, I can't get through this. And as they're adapting and realizing that it's not like it's an unattainable wall. Like you don't even have to have a madly optimized build. We're not talking like super end game. Like I didn't have a build spec for this, so I just threw some elemental damage into my build. We all ran element and we got through it. So it's definitely not impossible, but it is a definite departure for what Monster Hunter is known for.
There's also a thing with so when you start with the special assignment, the Alatreon starts with the fire element, so you want to use ice against him to do the most damage, and you have to break his horn in order to stop him from going to ice, because if he goes to ice, obviously, and you're all using ice weapons, there's no possible way that you're going to do enough damage to stop the one hit kill. So what does happen a lot of times in random lobbies when you're just matchmaking with people is you will not break the horn, and then everyone just leaves because there's no point in even continuing.
Wow.
So I think for matchmaking with random people, it has been a bit tough on people.
Yeah.
But people are starting to realize that you can just run dragon the whole time. Forget about the horns and just focus on doing damage.
Does Dragon negate the insta kill?
No, it's Alatreon's susceptible slightly to dragon the whole way through.
Oh, okay. He doesn't switch to a dragon element.
Super damage.
I think the other difficult thing as well is obviously like because it's one of those special arenas, Farcasters don't work. So you go into it and you can't go back to base to change your weapon. Like you're just stuck with it unless you die. And obviously then you go back. And also it's the other fact that I just lost my train of thought.
That's weird that they took out Farcasters. Farcasters is such like a
It's because if you don't break the horn and then it goes to the other element, it's like, hey, you're screwed. This is the mechanic. You can't Farcaster your way around this mechanic. Screw you, nerds.
I was a little disappointed that they took that out because I feel like that's like one of those Monster Hunter World things.
For Behemoth, where it's like as the Ecliptic Meteor is coming in, you can't use Farcasters. So they try to do it as a way to force you. I think Sapphire Jiva does the same thing as well. Like you can't Farcaster as it's doing Sapphire Star.
Right.
So they kind of started to introduce that. But yeah, it's definitely one of those. I mean, but then that is reminiscent. That's reminiscent of like the original one where like you're stuck in the arena to a degree. But yeah, it's definitely different. Like I mean, I like the fight overall, but I can definitely understand people's frustrations with I think that's what I was gonna say as well. That's one of the difficulties people are having because obviously the monster is easier if you do it solo, because obviously it's always that case, because the flint thresholds are lower, the break thresholds are lower, the general elemental DPS wall is lower. But a lot of people, obviously, if they're not used to soloing something like that, because it is still a challenge, then they go into multiplayer, but then multiplayer has a higher threshold, considerably so. So if you're playing in 4-player and people are not optimal, like all it takes is one person in your team to be like, I'm coming in with raw damage. It's like, thanks, we're dead. So
thanks, we're dead.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It sounds like end game content.
It definitely is. I think overall I enjoyed the Colvey fight more, just because that one felt like was probably one of my favorite fights in Monster Hunter. It just felt so epic. The music that they had with it, the big attack she does where she kind of climbs up this spire and rains down fire, just felt really cool. So yeah, Alatran's cool in that like he has all the elements. I think that alone would have actually been pretty challenging to people, because you can get blighted with literally everything.
Is it random what he switches to? Or what he starts with?
No, it's fixed, predetermined. He'll always go like primary element, which will either be fire or ice, depending on the quest you do.
Okay.
Into dragon, and then assuming you don't break the horn, he goes into the opposing element, and then repeats the cycle.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried him yet. Hopefully soon, but I got Ghost of Tsushima coming up, so I don't know when I'm going to be playing it.
You got a few days, you can jump in.
Yeah.
You can jump in, give it a try, be like, okay, Ghost of Tsushima time.
This is true. Yeah. Well, is that SideQuest?
I think
it is. SideQuest complete.
All right.
Don't forget, we have a Warlock Raidathon coming up.
Raidathon.
That's right.
When are we doing that? In like an hour?
Yes. If you're watching live, we're doing the Raidathon in about an hour and 15 minutes. If you're listening to this, it's already happened. You can check out the VOD.
Yeah, good point, because I definitely won't be posting the video up tonight.
Yeah.
It'll be going up tomorrow morning.
You can check out the VODs. Actually, it's going to be, we're all streaming, right? Or close to streaming. Yeah. Ash, Ares, obviously we are, except for Eric's, because he loves Warlocks too much.
It's true.
And then Slayer is going to be joining us as well as a pro Warlock loving raid team, where we always are complimenting Warlocks.
We compliment them the whole way. We can.
I thought we just couldn't insult them.
You have to compliment.
You got to backhand compliment them. All right.
Hey, the backhanded compliments will be a foul on the field called by our Warlock referees.
Really though?
Can you trust Warlock referees? Really?
This is a very nice smell. This piss smell is great. I love it. That's not a compliment.
Be like, aside from the
you smell less foul than you did yesterday. Have you been showering more frequently?
Well, you know what? We will have Warlock means in our Discord to keep an eye on us. If they are offended by anything you say, they can call a foul on it.
True,
Warlocks are running the show.
Do I have the power to ban them? Because that's also an option.
You could serve it or mute them.
Oh my gosh. Hilarious. All right. Well, that is SideQuest episode number 55. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. The show it's happened because of your guys' support. So thank you very much. Shout out to our Patreons, shout out to our Twitch subs, and just thanks for listening. If you want to find more of me, you could talk to me at Teft on Twitter and catch my streams twitch.tv/TeftyTeft.
I am Miss 5000 Watts. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Just look for Miss 5000 Watts.
And you find me over on YouTube at Scuf Gaming. Tune in tomorrow for the Tsushima review. And that's it.
I'm jealous.
Nice.
I'm Briar Rabbit, and you can't find me, so don't bother looking.
Wow.
He'll be non-available.
Yeah. He'll be reading the Jar Jar Binks fan comics.
He's going to be polishing his Jar Jar Binks collection. Statues.
Yeah.
I knew it, Briar. I knew you're a secret fan.
Polishing your Jar Jar. That's definitely not safe for work.
Wow.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon, actually. Bye, everyone.
Yes. Bye.